success can really feel like a cage. You know, all the things that you want to have, the money, the status, the income, the titles, the homes, the cars, the things around you, they can be a cage. And I'll tell you why. And this is not to be ungrateful or things, but we've all heard the saying that there's a God-shaped void in everyone's heart that can only be filled by God. And for me, what I've come to learn is that the higher I rose in my career, the more success that I experienced, the more means that I had, the more things that I realized that I once just sought after, the more I realized that, first of all, they don't give me the fulfillment that I thought they would, but it can be a cage. And that cage is because if we're constantly distracted by the things that we've worked for, no matter how they make us feel, if they don't turn our eyes up to look around at meaning or how things came to be, asking the deeper questions, really asking for God into our hearts, it ends up being a cage. Not because it's a bad place to be, but because if there's something else that we're supposed to be doing, or even something else that we want to do, we won't want to leave the comforts of that cage. We won't want to leave the status or prestige or income or whatever it is. We won't want to sink that cost of the things we worked for. But think about this for a minute. You know, right now it's June, and so I have graduation parties that I'm going to for people that are graduating high school, and it's like the question you get asked, or people are asking, well, what are your plans after high school? What are you planning to do? Are you going to college? Are you going to go to school? Are you going to get a job? Whatever. Think about this for a minute. And this was the case in my own life, is at 17, 18 years old, I finished high school and I go to college. And I decide then what direction I want to take. And at that time for me, it was nursing. I thought I wanted to be a nurse. And so I set a path for 4 years working to be a nurse, only to get done with that and find that I didn't really like being a nurse. I didn't really like, I didn't like the night shift. There were things about it that I didn't care for, and I was blessed to be able to kind of make a pivot. But I guess my point is this, is we don't know anything about ourselves when we're graduating high school. We don't really know anything about the world. I would say even college. I'm 42 years old and I really don't feel like I know a thing. The older I get, the more I feel like the less I know, and the more I'm like lost. And so we make this choice in our early lives, whether it's high school or college, whatever it is, we make this choice to set a direction, and we're making that choice without knowing anything. And a lot of us work a long time to stay on that path and to rise up on that path. And maybe you find yourself high up on that ladder of that path and like, this is not what I'm supposed to do. But I worked my entire adult life up to this point for this, and I can't just quit. That would be dumb. And so it scares the crap out of me to think of it, but it's like, okay, I'm about halfway through my career. I'm like 42, and I gotta work till 65, 67 years old. You know, God willing, I live that long, and I have my health, and I can still work, because not everyone will have that. But I chose healthcare back when I was 17 years old. And it has become a cage. Not because it's bad, but because I was afraid to leave it. And I think what an interesting way to look at life, that we are to make the choice, to do things right. You graduate high school, you go get a job, or you go work to get training to get a job, whether that's college or a technical school or whatever it is. Maybe you open a business, you start a business, and that'd be cool, wouldn't it? We're not taught to do that, right? But you make these choices to set the course of your life so young. And broadly speaking, I think most of us plan to do what we do till we're done. Till we're done with working. I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire from this organization. I'm going to retire and get my pension. You got to work up to get your pension. What is that? That's called a cage. I'd like to envision a zoo. And you got all these creatures at a zoo. Let's just pick the lion. He's a pretty cool creature, right? You got these lions, and they're in the zoo. And they have everything that they need. They have food. They have health. There's no predators hunting them. There's no risk of famine. There's no competition. They got everything they need. They're fat and happy. But they're in a freaking cage. I mean, if you were a lion, would you choose to be in that cage, or would you choose to be out on the Sahara hunting and being a lion? I'm not convinced that the structure of the world today helps us to realize the lion within each of us. We weren't put on this earth to basically go to work, save up as much money as we can, hopefully live long enough to retire, and then spend our golden years retiring. Why would they call that our golden years? When we're young, we have our health, we have our energy, we have our motivation, our excitement, we have our loved ones around us. The older you get, the more those things fall away. Friends pass on, loved ones pass on, health gets different. Our bodies, they lose the vigor that they had when you're 20 years old. So why in the Sam heck do they call our golden years 67? My wife, her father, in great health, retired last year, diagnosed with Alzheimer's. His body's healthy, but he's not going to be able to enjoy his golden years. My best friend, he died at 40. We're talking more about, what he's going to do with work and his business and all this. The next day he's dead. We weren't planning on that. So what a silly game when you think about it. So if you are in a cage, it's a gilded cage maybe, but you're a lion. You have your food given to you, but don't be afraid. You can find your food. Maybe these systems aren't set up to actually help us to realize our potential. The systems are set up for us to serve them. I'm not saying people, them as people. I'm saying them, the systems that we're a part of. I'm kind of getting on a tangent. I didn't really have a plan for this video, but when I think about it, I think it's kind of a tragedy that we decide the course of our entire life. For all we know, we have one life. We're on this planet for 70, 80 years if we're very fortunate. But we're not 80 and running around enjoying life. We're 80 and we've really slowed down. We're 80 and we might be alone because our loved ones are gone. So why would we wait till the end to have our golden years? Why would we wait till the end to decide we're going to do what we want to do, regardless of the means that brings? Life isn't a numbers game, man. Not a math problems. Winning at the end is not the one with the most stuff. That's a lie. That's a lie that I fell for a long time. And maybe other people do too. And if you do, that's okay. I mean, don't just open your eyes then and think about it though. Because it all can be gone tomorrow. And someday it will all be gone tomorrow. Someday tomorrow will be your last day. It'll be my last day. It'll be everyone that you know and love. It will be their last day. Not the same day, but we're all just buying time. And I think that in some ways it's a crime that we live in a world where so much of us, so many of us, myself included, are driven by achievement, accomplishment, acquisition of things, calling it freedom. But maybe that's not our game. You have to eat. You have to be able to, have enough money to afford things. But who says that you have to wait until you're 67 to have your golden years? The golden years is when you have your health. Nothing is guaranteed. And so I encourage you, if you've had something on your heart, a dream or a calling, but you're like, I'm afraid to either go for it or it's too good here. I don't want to take a risk and leave that. I'm happy where I'm at. It's comfortable. It just makes sense. It's logical. Life isn't freaking logical. Death isn't logical. It just ends. It just happens to all of us. So don't be logical with your dreams and your ambitions. It'll work out. I promise you, man. It'll work out. I haven't worked for over a year, and I cannot tell you how different my perspective has become, not being in the corporate environment. I don't make any money anymore. I made $500 a couple of weeks ago. I ran a retreat for one of the nonprofits that I volunteer for. I used to make that in a half a day. But I was in a gilded cage. Not because the people that were hiring me or the organization I worked for was bad. The cage was up here. The cage was up here. And I was terrified at the idea that I'd lose my title as a vice president, that I'd lose my income that I worked for a long time, that I dreamed of, that I'd stop doing the work that I did every day, that I have 2 master's degrees that I worked for to do my job. That's a lot of sunk cost. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Life is not a rational work problem or a rational math problem. And logic, I don't know what that is. I don't even know what that is. It's a lie. I'll tell you that. It's a lie. Because we are all temporary, and every passing moment is closer to whatever's next. We call it death. That's morbid, but I think it's important we think about those things. What are we afraid of? What are you afraid of? It gets so much more exciting with the unknown. But I think that you should believe in yourself and take a risk. It's not going to be easy. No one ever said it would be, but that's what makes it fun. I was playing video games with my nephews the other day, and they had this new Zelda game. I tell you what, Zelda is way different than it was when I was a kid. And it was funny. My nephew Gus, he's playing this level in Zelda, and he just says, he's like, I can beat this level so easily. It's not even fun anymore. It's boring. There's no fun in ease. Challenge is fun. That's what we're meant. We're meant to push against things. We're meant to grow. We're meant to reach potential that we didn't have before. And we do that when we're doing something that doesn't feel comfortable to us. And it can be as big as walking away from a job, walking away from a career, walking away from a path that has been ingrained in your mind by people who've had it ingrained in their minds, who ingrained it in their minds, who ingrained it in their minds, who don't even know where that came from in the first place. And you say, I'm doing something different. And you look crazy to everybody else. And that's okay. That's okay. But if you're in a really good situation, but it just doesn't feel right because you think that you're called to do something else, so you think you've had it on your heart a dream to start this business, or to take a chance on yourself somewhere else, or just to leave your organization and go work somewhere else in the same field maybe. I've known lots of people who have been long-standing, tenured employees somewhere, and they're just afraid to go anywhere else. It's good here, it's fine, I think, maybe my career could go higher somewhere else, but it's fine here. I just need to wait out my retirement and then, I'll be fine. That's maybe logical. It's safe, but it's not safe because your job could be eliminated. You could get fired for some reason. Your organization could shut down, or you could die of a lightning strike on the way home from work. It's not safe. Nothing is safe. It's not bad. It's just nothing is guaranteed. And so why just waste life on just this illusion of certainty, this illusion of comfort, this illusion of safety that a cage gives you? Cages are for pets, for zoo creatures. They're not even for zoo creatures. Break out of the cage, at least in your mind. It's not what it's cracked up to be. And outside that cage is maybe pretty awesome. Maybe there's potential that you have that, honestly, you won't realize until you kind of take that leap. Life has a way of not giving you what you're seeking after until you really burn your ships. Life is so good. I'm at just a community park. It's not a very nice day, but it's packed. There's people everywhere. Got a beautiful little lake behind me, the wind, the earth, the air, and I don't have a job. I don't know where my next dollar's coming from. And sometimes that scares the shit out of me. It does. But I know I'll be okay. But I'm free. I'm not in a cage. And it's not just the cage of a job. It's the cage of my mind saying, I can't possibly picture my life. I won't survive without this. My mind is no longer caged in. But it took a while to get out of that. And you don't just decide to get out of the cage. I'm going to think differently. No, you literally have to break yourself. Just like a horse. How they break a horse. You literally have to break yourself. Bank on yourself. Get out of the cage. Okay, bye for now.